you're out in nature, you've always got to make sure you're enjoying everything that's around you. As a herpetologist like I am, but also a botanist, of course, I'm always looking at not just the reptiles that I try and find, but all the plants that are around, as well as other interesting things that show up on any hike or trip that we take. The erodium in the first photo that you guys saw, sand lilies, mystery flowers that I don't know because there's far too many in the mountains to identify them all, and sometimes other funny things like the ducks that were floating around in very strange place up in this little creek, and friends.
Say hello.
Well, I guess they didn't feel like saying hello, but this environment was absolutely beautiful, so I don't really blame them for being distracted. This is a lovely little park that's up in the foothills of northern Colorado. It has some amazing hiking areas, transitions from low meadows near a lake all the way up into the mountains with pine forests and such. And aside from, of course, all the plants that I am always distracted from finding, there's a lot of other things that you can discover in this environment. And sometimes it's just nice to sit and listen to the animals that you can hear all around you in the forest, as well as the awkward folks that you're with.
Who will?
Don't like that soundbite.
There's some type of bird in those bushes.
Besides the ducks from earlier, though, our first major wildlife find was something a fair bit larger. Not reptiles, but still cool to see and rather common in the foothills.
Mom's heading away.
So the first trail that we chose to hike, we did not actually find any reptiles on, but that's alright. Still many beautiful things to see around there. Tons of wildflowers, and in the second video that you'll see coming up on this channel in a week or two, hopefully, you'll see some new wildflowers that showed up a couple weeks later. But simply walking along the sides of the brooks in the area is wonderful, looking out at the views across the foothills onto the plains, and examining all the different flowers before we moved on to the next spot. Before moving on, though, down closer near the lake shore, I actually did find this rather large centipede running around, though. Our second chosen trail of the day was found a little more out on the plains, right where the tectonic fractures of the Rockies start breaking up to produce the foothills, where they merge into the plains. In this area you can see a lot of limestone ridges where you can sometimes find fossils, and out here, of course, lots of wildlife, including this rabbit who isn't quite as hidden as he thinks he is behind that stick. Wasn't long after this, though, that we did finally find our first reptile for the day. A couple ladies who were coming back from the trail mentioned a rattlesnake just around the corner, so naturally we hurried up the trail and found this guy.
Out here Herping, we found our first snake of the day. This is your classic bull snake, Pituophis catenifersae. These guys are really common out here on the Great Plains, and as you can see, relatively docile, friendly animals. Oftentimes they're pretty heavy bluffers. They like to hiss and rattle their tails to try and scare off potential predators, but oftentimes even when they're doing that, you can't do much of anything to get them to bite. These guys are often mistaken to hunt rattlesnakes, but that's actually an old wives' tale. They'll often actually den with rattlesnakes, and they may outcompete rattlesnakes, which is why you often don't find them in the same areas, because they'll eat the same prey. So these guys will go after small rodents and birds, lizards, and these are perhaps the second largest snake in North America, growing up to 8 feet long, only beat out by the eastern indigo snake, which can get about a foot longer than that. And no matter where you go, they're highly variable in their appearance. Some of them are very kind of pale, rusty and tan colors. Other guys have really dark colorations. This one you can see is kind of intermediate. He's got some really dark colors, a little bit more pale in the middle. And they're often famous for kind of having a tricolor pattern, very broken up in the front and dark, get paler along the back, and then more blotchy along the tail. So we've had this guy out for a little bit. We'll get him released shortly here.
Aside from that one bull snake, though, we were starting to kind of get worried that maybe we'd see only just that one snake. Sure, more beautiful wildflowers along this stretch of trail as well to examine, but not much else that was popping up. There's a little cabin that is a couple miles up the trail that you can kind of stop and rest nearby, a short nature loop that is near that area, and we did find this rather interesting rattlesnake skeleton that was near one of the rocks. If you look closely, you can actually see the fangs within the mouth, several different sets of fangs, because as one set of fangs is dropped, the next is already growing up in the gums and will swing down to replace that lost fang. So these guys are never without their venom delivery system. We had worried that this might be the only thing that we would find for the rest of the day, especially as big storms started to pick up and lots of winds started coming through, but we got lucky. Of course, thanks to that wind, you can hardly hear a word that I'm actually saying in the video. You can see that this bull snake is a little larger than the last one and also a bit darker in color, so even within the exact same general area, these guys can be extremely variable in their appearances. So we held on to this guy for a little while and then released him, started walking back. Actually, we're kind of already on the way back towards the car, but even closer to the parking lot, the best thing then showed up for the very last.
Going back on our trip here, we almost just walked past a prairie rattlesnake right here. Absolutely beautiful animal. Oh, and he's a grumpy guy. Hook, please. Thank you. He's seen us. He knows that we see him, so he's gone into defensive mode. You can see him arching up here. I'll zoom in. Look at him. One of the most widespread rattlesnakes in North America. Extremely variable in coloring. This is about average for what they look like out here. He's not a very big guy, maybe 2 feet long. His tongue is going up and down, and you can see how they actually pull the tongue out long periods like this. They actually use that to gather more scent particles so they can figure out exactly what is facing them. So we'll get a few more photos of him here, and then we'll leave him be.
Now I just want to take a moment and point out, and I highly encourage you guys to kind of rewind back a little bit and notice the rattlesnake actually got his tongue stuck on the rock there. I used my hook and kind of helped him pry it off and then moved that rock out of the way so that wouldn't happen. So, venomous and potentially dangerous as they are, even rattlesnakes can be complete dorks at times. So, picked this guy up, moved him with the hook off of the trail. He did not want to stay on the hook, so this next photo here is just, you can see he's sliding right off. So we didn't move him very far, just far enough off that nobody coming down the trail would bother him again, and then took one last video.
Moved him off the path here, and you can see as he's just trying to back away from us so that he doesn't get bothered, staying in a defensive position the whole time because he knows that we know he's here. And he's all ready in case anything comes after him. You can hear him hissing a little bit.
So, all in all, not a bad day, honestly. Only 3 snakes, but then northern Colorado can be somewhat sparse in its reptile population, so 2 bull snakes and 1 rattlesnake makes for a pretty good day. Now, this isn't, of course, all the herping that'll be going on this year. In fact, in just a week or two, hopefully, I'll have a second video up, Herping the Foothills Part 2, so keep an eye out for that. If you guys want to make sure that you don't miss it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on that bell that YouTube has you click. If you'd like to see more information about reptiles and plants and other things that we work with in Carlton Carnivores, make sure to click on some of the links below. The website at carltoncarnivores.com. If you want to help support the making of these videos, visit www.patreon.com/hcarlton to help support us there. And until next time, I'm Hawken Carlton, and this is Carlton Carnivores.